Here we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to my creating project presentation for EDU 709. My name is Joe Zalevich, and I'd like to welcome you. I'd like to apologize first for any wooziness in my voice. I had a pretty bad jet ski spill earlier in the week, and just starting to feel myself here. Definitely a lesson learned as I am approaching 40 years old. There's a lot safer ways to have fun than water sports, at least for me. So that might be my last time around on a jet ski. Anyway, welcome to the presentation. In my presentation, students were asked to build a glog about themselves using the website Glogster, in which I just got the free trial version and would continue to do that. Glogster is one of those ones that they're constantly switching around, and they want you to upgrade to the pro version, and they do have some great features, but we tested it out and did all my research with the free version. The second task or second project students were asked to do was to create an e-portfolio of themselves using any presentation tool, but we based our instructions and our strategies on PowerPoint and added some features for those who wanted to go above and beyond and perhaps use some other Web 2.0 tools to enhance their projects and make them better. So there was a lot of thinking went into the project, a lot of rationalizing, and I actually separated into two categories. There was a creating rationale where I was just creating the idea and what we would be able to use and apply to this particular project. And by using web tools and presentation programs to build something that students could use for themselves about themselves. My students go way out of their way to embarrass themselves and others online, and they need to balance that out and eventually, learn how to promote themselves positively. They need to acquire these tools to promote themselves positively so that they can go ahead and further that. They also need to begin to understand social presence when they post pictures and negative statements or beliefs, that it's out there, and that's what people are going to see. I just really want to get across to them that their info can be seen, and why not, if somebody Googles your name, which they eventually will, why not have an exciting web page appear or a portfolio appear of your accomplishments, rather than, like I said, the negative pictures or online memberships that may exist. And that's going to be a wave of the future with the students, the digital natives, so to speak, have creating 16 years of adolescence online, and then of course trying to create a professional presence as well. And then I had a project selection and rationale here, and basically this project, we've had old resume projects and presentations, and we've built posters and different types of artifacts that students have used to promote themselves. But with the technology in place and that we have in our school, we're ready to go with this. We don't have a class per se where students, like a careers class or something like that, but we do have consumer math classes where there's units built in for absolutely for employment, future employment or career after college, or just what you're going to do in the future, and all these things will help that portfolio or gathering of resources as you prepare to do that. The programs and websites are accessible from both school and home. I also wanted to pick things that I knew the kids could do. We do have in our school district, we have laptops and labs that we can use on a daily basis. We have wireless access that's pretty darn good. I would say it rarely fails, and most of the students have access to the information at home as well, but the assignment's done in class. But I wanted to have something that they could use in the future and know how to access in the future. And then the bottom line is that student enjoyment equals student success. And these tasks or these projects were, I could sense in the researching and in the creating that they were going to be exciting for students. And, many students would thrive in this type of assignment or this type of almost like advanced task or what's the word I'm looking for? Challenge. This type of challenge for students would, I think would equate in some great student success. We're told daily in our district to engage the students, and I can't think of a better way to engage the students than in these types of projects. So the technology and resources involved, we needed the access to the Web 2.0 tools, access to a presentation program like PowerPoint, and then the students needed to provide the data. We had this, our Glogster students were going to provide information. They were allowed to be a little more creative in the Glog, but they would still need to provide the pictures and, statements of belief or whatever they wanted to put on their famous quotes. They'd have to bring that information in, as opposed to searching the information. It's basically the way we had to go with that. But every school has different access, availability, and rules. So you really have to, if this program works for you, these projects may or may not work, but the best thing to do is to pass them by your tech department. We're going to, it's essential that, that students, the necessary resources. The more resources they bring in and the more data they bring in, the better the project will be. So again, the first thing the students are going to be asked to do is they're going to go over to Glogster. Okay, let me just get into my Glogster here. And as I said, Glogster is one of the ones that will change their availability and especially the free account. Now, I do have an educator account on here, and students are invited, and we use the site that way. As far as sample portfolios go, and the student portfolios, we created them in PowerPoint. The All About Me portfolio they were asked to create, and they could come up with this. If they wanted to make it resume style, they could make it a resume style, but they were basically asked to come up with this just using the categories, and then they would provide whatever information and the style or the presentation that they wanted to. In this example here, the student went to Parsons Middle School. He was on the Honor Society in 2002. And the same thing would go for personal interests, employment history or interests. And the nice thing is, after we do Project 1 and bring in all the information for the Glog, that students have already brought in a lot of their information and tools that they may want to put right into the portfolio. Now, the skills and knowledge required of a teacher, the teacher needs to be able to navigate technology, and navigate means so many things on so many different programs. You have to, student speed and the digital native speed is pretty fast. So you have to be at their level and be able to guide them in the correct level. Troubleshooting technology, well, whatever tools, can certainly, certainly act up. And you have to be able to deal with it, have some help staff or support. I find that I've been troubleshooting these websites and for years, and I find the best way to do it, you just kind of tinker around, and having more students on the task are going to help you troubleshoot the technology. So it's a requirement of the teacher, but technology is what it is, and troubleshooting can be done by all. And then modifying technology, I think you got to anticipate some of these problems sometimes. So I came up with a couple things. You can prepare posters that they eventually will put into the Glogsters. You can have them, make a written resume that they'll transfer into the portfolio. But the bottom line is you have to have a plan in place when you are dealing with technology and dealing with students that are going to be using technology. And we'll talk about that a little bit in the disadvantages section a little bit later. Prior skills and knowledge required of the student. Well, the student must possess some basic technology skills. Students in my school can do most, anything that our computers allow them to do when it comes to technology. Most of them love the challenges and love the attempts of the new programs that we bring in. Students must be self-motivated and independent learners. Um, this plan has been researched and is in place, and the effort must be there. The students should supply, the information, but be able to really navigate around and have the inquisitive skills to complete the tasks. And finally, they must be able to create a positive image of themselves. I can't say it enough. Some of these students, especially in my alternative program, are really dealing with damage control now. As they, like I said, most of their profiles online are in fact negative. The procedures of the projects. We're reminding students how to access the classroom website. So in our district, we use Edmodo and all of their features. For the most part, we use the folders feature, and are free to use everything else. But I use the folders feature, and I do this in my consumer math class. As we said, we don't have a careers class, but in my consumer math class, and I go to my folders, and under Project 1, we will see the creating your GLOGs folders. Okay, and the first folder here is the screencast that I created for creating a GLOG. Good afternoon, students. This is Mr. Silevich, and this is our screencast on creating your GLOG. We're going to use the Web 2.0 tool Glogster to create a GLOG. Now, I had a lot of fun in creating these screencasts, and I've been thinking about them for years. As often as we use other programs in school, and I use videos to supplement my teaching, I've thought for a long time that creating screencasts, for especially my major lectures, so to speak, would be a great idea. Okay, and the second item under Project 1 is the Glogster written directions, and they supplement the screencast, similar to what we did in EDU 709. And then finally, we linked it up to some spectacular sample GLOGs, just a simple Google search where they could go around and look at some GLOGs, particularly, they're ones that are like our task. They're all about me ones, and they could check it out and get some ideas and really be as creative as they want to be. For Project 2, we have the portfolio screencast. Once again, I had a ton of fun creating this screencast for creating your e-portfolio. Okay, and then of course the written instructions for creating an e-portfolio. Lots of samples, including how to upload images and items. And then some sample e-portfolios. Now these sample e-portfolios were, for the most part, done in PowerPoint, which, like I said, the directive pretty much was. And then we put some spectacular examples. I believe these were from Auburn University, and students were definitely encouraged, and the students that wanted to go above and beyond could go to this site and kind of learn about other ways to build their own e-portfolios. So that's kind of how they would navigate around the Edmodo website. Once again, I put everything in the folders and then just kind of make the attachments from there. Showing students where the project files are. We did that. Differentiate between the screencast, the written instructions, and the examples. And you just let the students know, for instance, this is the screencast. This is what you need to watch if you have further, to take a look at the written directions, and then there's some samples in there. The advantages. Well, there are many advantages to this project. The first one was that for the kids. I thought it was, we love giving the kids tools that they can use. They're building resources for themselves. These projects are fun and engaging. There's tons of features and options to these tools that students can build upon and use outside of school. And bottom line, it helps them create a positive social image. These tools encourage them. I always encourage them to save and publish this stuff. It's good stuff to have, and they'll be able to build upon it. Okay. I thought another advantage, and this wasn't of the projects, but of this assignment, is that I really felt a great deal of satisfaction putting all this stuff together. It's very, very useful, and once you use it, and have it there, it just becomes second nature to add it to your classroom website. The disadvantages. Well, I had to really kind of get picky when I was looking for disadvantages. Varying levels of technological skills. You're going to have students that aren't ready to go into Web 2.0 tools or put information on Web 2.0 tools, and just students that aren't as motivated. The programs are student reliant, or at least these projects are student reliant, in that they need to bring in their information, and they really need to. It's all about them, not just the topic, but it's all about them. This is their thing to do. It's out there. The teachers are going to be there to support them, but this is all about them. And the disadvantage could require some technological support. Anytime you're using the internet, you may have some issues, or as advanced the more advanced you get, the certainly better you must be to troubleshoot the information. I did find that Glogster, it has changed its look even since June 1st. If it's free, it's not going to last long, specifically in Project 2. Types of effective instructional strategy. We used a lot of guided instruction. These students should be able to do these projects without you. You are there to reinforce effort and provide recognition. But I think once this thing's built the way it needs to be, once it is built the way it needs to be, but once students are in the mode of using Edmodo and go into these folders and files, this project is beneficial to them, and really easy to use. I can't think of a better project for a junior or senior to sit down in high school and sit down and just helps them grow. Now, one thing I wanted to do here, when looking at effective instructional strategies, I wanted to look at some of the applications that Marzano uses for effective teaching and learning. And just, the first one, identifying similarities and differences. Students are creating, students are comparing, classifying, and all the way down. I thought it was really neat that there's an application really from every non-linguistic representation. There's everywhere. There's a representation from every strategy in these tasks and projects. Oh, lost myself there. The transferability. Okay, well, I thought one of the coolest things about this project was the transferability. It's easy to share these Web 2.0 tools amongst your colleagues and to access them in different rooms, which is easy to share. The students can describe or present all academic accomplishments. You know, if they do well on a science project or are involved in a science Olympiad, they can add that to their portfolios. And if they do well, perhaps in an essay writing contest or something along those lines, all these things are incorporated into these assignments, so it's certainly cross-curricular. And then you can use these tools to promote events school-wide. Specifically in the Glogster assignment, we've had students use Glogster to put posters up for school events, athletic events, dances, things like that, and we will continue to. This innovation transfers as well as any, I thought. Other teachers can help students enhance their projects by providing ideas to improve the presentations. Other teachers can incorporate their own subjects into the portfolio by giving students works or specific feedback and reminding them of their individual accomplishments. The project, I think, transfers well into other school settings, and it could, you can incorporate all school events and even post after school events into this project. Finally, I had some concluding thoughts. I think the searching project really paid off. It saved a lot of time. It helped me narrow my resources, which I think was a big thing with so many resources out there. I wanted to say again how excited I am about screencasting. I do sound nervous, but I get less and less nervous with every screencast, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with it and eventually have my students start making the screencast, as many of our classmates have suggested. And I'm excited to bring these projects to my students and my colleagues. These are projects that are, the format's in place right now and the ideas are in place, but we've never enhanced them to this level. So, some of the colleagues will love them, some of them won't, some of them use them immediately, some of them may come down and ask me down the road if, do you still have access to that, or can you show me how to use that? And the important thing is that we share that stuff. So I wanted to thank everybody for watching my creating project presentation, and I will talk to you soon.